Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we're going to talk about should Pokemon incorporate serialized cards? Should they add one of ones, one of tens, one of hundreds from new sets? I'm sure a lot of you saw or heard about the Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, one of one card. It's made a lot of noise, and if we could start with a positive, it's nice to see what the reaction would be if this happened in Pokemon. It's like watching a tornado from a safe distance. You're like, yeah, that's pretty intense. I'm glad it's not like blasting through my house right now. So there was overall a pretty negative reaction with this new edition. And we're really going to break it down here and talk about why I think Magic is doing this, and also the idea of manufactured rarity versus purposeful rarity. Because this is a great example of manufactured rarity, and it's not unique to Magic. This is something that's been going on forever in sports cards. Honestly, since the 90s, when you had that pivot from all that organic interest in the 80s, and then the whole junk wax era that everybody talks about. It's because all of these companies like Upper Deck and Fleer and Topps, they got together like, yeah, you thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah, you think what I'm thinking? We're going to start doing 50 rookie cards instead of just the one. We're going to do a rookie patch auto. We're going to do a rookie patch. We're going to do a black diamond. We're going to do a blue refractor, an orange refractor, a green refractor, red refractor, just any color. So that is the landscape of modern sports, and basically Magic is dipping their toes in that, and it's yet another chapter in desperation. It just feels desperate. It feels like Magic's really struggling at being a collectible, which we'll get into later. But this idea of manufactured rarity versus purposeful, I think, is very important, because I'm sure a lot of you, you see what I collect or what I like, and you're like, okay, here he goes. I'm going to start talking about trophy cards again. But I would not mess with rarity if it were like this in packs. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but let me break it down. When you have a card that's a one of one or a one of five, it's not really a trading card anymore. If you really think about the idea of why we're all here, why we're collecting Charizard or Moonbryon or whatever new thing it is, it's because there's not only a reasonable way to get it, there's a way to potentially trade with someone or interact with people. If every card was just a one of one, I don't think Pokemon would have made it off the runway. Because you need enough Charizard to circulate to see it on the playground, to be able to trade for it, to be able to buy it, or be able to pull it from a pack. If everything is just a one of one, it's just not going to work out. It's one thing to have that trophy Kangaskhan or whatever thing it is, that was given out in a specific way or whatever, but that can't be everything. And more importantly, that's purposeful rarity. That Kangaskhan or whatever it is, pick your poison, that's given out for a purpose. There's actually a really good example in Magic. This card right here, Splendid Genesis, is a great example of purposeful rarity. Richard Garfield, the godfather of the game who created it, had his first child, made this as a commemoration for that, and gave it out to whoever within WotC, estimated like 100 or so right there. Even if it's 100, 1,000, whatever the number is, the point is this is a purposeful rarity. There's a purpose behind it. The only purpose behind this Lord of the Rings thing is getting that bag, getting money. That's really it. There's a big difference between the two. What kickback did they get from that? What kickback did Richard Garfield get from that? They made no money. He made no money when he gave those out for free. And that's very in line with the Pokemon examples. When you go to Kangaskhan, Unicarp, Tropical Wind, the World's Trophies, whatever it is, those are all given out for free because they have a purpose behind them. You did something very difficult. You had some type of achievement, whether it's winning an entire tournament or winning this event, and you get a reward for doing that. It's a very organic process, in my opinion, and that's what attracts me to that stuff. It's really more about the story and the history. It just happens to be very rare, but I just love the whole everything behind it, the identity of that item. Same for this, same with Magic. This is one of my white whales for the longest time, to talk about it forever in Patreon. This took ages to track down and finally acquire, but again, both are good examples of purposeful rarity. It's a great contrast to the Lord of the Rings deal, where in my opinion, it's so bad because it's not even a Magic card. They're so desperate right now that they have to do all these collaborations. And I think that's another discussion here within this video, is that Magic is really struggling right now as a collectible. It's doing fine. It'll always do fine as a playing card. When I talked about Magic a couple videos ago, and I said how it's like an oak tree, very strong, solid oak tree with no branches. It does this one thing very, very well, but that's about it. And this is yet another attempt at trying to branch out into being a collectible. And when you look at a lot of the From the Vault or whatever it is, some of the cards, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, like an artist coming in here and collaborating. That's really what their move is to try to say, okay, let's get this artist, or let's get this other franchise in here. Where with Pokemon, going back to the original question, should they do serialized cards? Right now, knock on wood, Pokemon is the leader in TCG, like bar none. So there's no real reason to do some type of desperate move or honestly anything at all outside of just trying to maintain what's going on. And more importantly, with Pokemon, it's like all you gotta do is just add another Charizard, put another Eevee in there. Umbreon's on the come up. Just throw another Umbreon in the set, and you're good to go. Drop a Pikachu. Just let a little, I don't know, let a little Mewtwo slip in there as well. It's like that's gonna carry the set. When you have enough popular Pokemon, you don't even need that. Like Pokemon is so crazy right now. The alt arts are so beautiful. Like you can give me a Cricketune. Like you can give me like a friggin' cricket that's like playing music for people at dusk. And it's like, that's a good card. Like that's a very strong vibe. Like that's what I think people want more than a serialized card. In fact, like if Magic was going to do something here, it's like give people like a nice full art Sarah Angel, maybe textured, give them something like that. That's like a nice version. I think they were doing that for a while. Correct me if I'm wrong, like the Expedition Rares, I think they were. It's like another rare version of the same card. But like when you get to that 1/1 level, it just ends up being too manufactured. Because again, it's not really a trading card. Like what are you going to do with that? And speaking as like the person who's chased rarity their whole life, the drive behind that was more about the story. Rarity just happened to be like, the happenstance really. It's really about that. The art plus the history plus the purpose plus the story all combined make a really powerful collectible that gives you that reward of chasing that white whale where, if you get this 1/1 card, it's like, yeah, you win the lottery, I guess, you can get a great payday, but that's really the point here is that it's just straight to money. There's not really much appreciation. Like this card has ballooned since I bought it, but it's so hard for me to sell because there's so much emotion behind it, again, because that purpose. My lucky unicarp, I don't know if there's ever a number somebody can give me on that because of all the meaning behind it. And that's what this lacks. And I think serialized cards at large really lack that. I think they cater more towards the lottery, gambling, perhaps flex side of collectibles rather than like the art appreciation or, the sentimental side. And yeah, it's just a tough sell for me. And, ultimately when we're ending this on Pokemon, I just don't see any need. I don't see any need at all. Just to do a couple rundowns on how crazy Pokemon is right now. You have people committing felonies, stealing cards from the factory. Like, we're talking like the VMAXs and like the Moonbreons and stuff. Like, people are trying to steal that. It's like the 90s all over again. It's like that 90s mania all over again right now for Modern. You have people taking trips to go to an artist event to potentially get a signing. Like, you have people spending $1,000 or a couple $1,000s to maybe get a signature. None of that's happening in Magic. That's why they're doing this type of thing. Like, they're really trying to become a collectible. They're struggling, in my opinion, as a collectible. Again, they do very, very well. Playing and the investing side of Magic, especially the playability, it's by far the most competitive, comprehensive TCG. I don't think that's ever going to change, but that's really it. It's all eggs in one basket, and I just don't see the need in Pokemon. It's the leader right now. I mean, they're still struggling to print to demand. Like, we're still not fully there yet. Like, prices on Evolving Skies or whatever box it is, a lot of the Japanese stuff right now especially, they're really struggling to, balance that out. And no need is the takeaway here. If you lasted this whole 10 minutes, the TLDR is I just don't see the need for serialized cards. And again, reiterating about the whole purposeful rarity, it just doesn't have it for me. It doesn't have it. I'd rather see that art distributed in a nice balance where everyone can share. The cool thing, one final little emotional thing to end on here is that these alt arts that everyone's like stonking and everything, like kids also appreciate. Where like the 1/1 Lord of the Rings thing, like what kid's gonna appreciate that? Because it's not made for that. It's made 100% for like this adult market. And that's what I love about Pokemon is it really does a great job of like combining and like the synergy of all the generations. It really does. Like as cringy as that sounds, Pokemon just incorporates all the generations better than any other collectible. I can have that alt art and a kid is going to lose their mind on it just like an adult would, right? Maybe for subtly different reasons, but that core there, again, a purpose behind it and actually having tens of thousands out there as an actual trading card instead of like this, this weird 1/1 like nerd lottery chip, like 'cause that's what this is, the nerd lottery ring. So yeah, that's the final thing there is that I think Pokemon does a great job of combining all the generations. We have the same appreciation for the same cards, where this type of 1/1 thing, it really just cuts out all the younger generations. It's not only about the adults, It's about the high income, high echelon spenders, you know, because that's what it's going to end up with. So there you go. That's my take on the not only the Magic the Gathering situation, but also if it should be implemented in Pokemon. I just don't see the need right now. But as usual, you know the deal, let me know how I feel, and that is pretty much it, guys. Till next time.